Hi guys, so today I'm gonna react to two things, two videos and articles. One is from BBC News talking about how Beijing, China, calls Vance ignorant over the Chinese peasants remark that he made, and also what Beijing says in the Guardian article over here. I think there's also a video there that I can react to. So this article is from April 8, 2025. This is 2 days ago, very recent situation where J.D. Vance describes Chinese people as peasants. That's extremely racist and xenophobic. It's pretty terrible. Not surprising from the Trump administration. They're a bunch of uh, woman hater, immigrant hater type individuals. They don't like anyone who's a woman, transgender man. They hate immigrants. They're very xenophobic, very racist, very misogynist, very sexist, and also very racist. So it's not really surprised they have problems with Chinese people, especially China in particular, because they really have a huge issue with Asian people in general, but China in particular is pretty much the biggest competitor. China has basically been taking over the global market for years already. And with the whole Trump administration's tariffs, uh, the tariffs are not gonna help the general public. It doesn't help the general consumer because as the companies have to pay for more to be able to sell you stuff. For example, they have to pay for the material for the oranges, like the net they use for the oranges. So they have to pay for more money to be able to build a car. It doesn't matter if it's made in the USA. Those parts are not necessarily made in the USA. They can provide the parts, ship it to the USA, but they can still be made somewhere else where they have to pay a higher cost to be able to have those materials made, which means that the consumers are gonna make up the difference for the corporations to still make a profit. Tariffs are not good for you. Always keep that in mind. So this is the video.
What has the globalist economy gotten the United States of America? And the answer is fundamentally it's based on two principles: incurring a huge amount of debt to buy things that other countries make for us. And to make it a little bit more crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture. That is not a recipe for economic prosperity.
Yeah, he said the U.S. buys stuff from Chinese peasants. Chinese peasants. That's extremely racist. Let me go back to emphasize that situation. Like this is really bad.
For us. And to make it a little bit more crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture. That is not a recipe for economic prosperity. It's not a recipe for low prices, and it's not a recipe for good jobs in the United States of America.
Yep. So can't say he didn't say it, right? Extremely racist, and they're really going strong on the racism and xenophobia. Besides the misogyny and sexism they've been doing very strongly. On Monday, Trump gave China, one of the world's largest holders of U.S. Treasury bonds. Keep that in mind. They also help the U.S. economy dramatically. Until Tuesday to scrap its 34% counter tariff or face an additional 50% tax on goods imported into the US. There are being additional tariffs that Trump has done, and China and Trump has been going basically back and forth. US is not going to be able to bully China. China is doing extremely well economically, technologically. They're also very advanced. Way the infrastructure is way above ours. Their EVs, meaning electronic vehicles or e-vehicles, are much, much better than ours. They're way ahead. They're way better than Teslas. So don't think the US is so ahead. We are behind in terms of producing scientific research. We used to be on top, and now we're behind. Republicans are making the US dumber as a result of constant Republican policies and laws. And this has been a really big issue. We're extremely behind. If Trump adds on the threat, US companies could face a total rate of 104% on Chinese imports, as it comes on top of 20% tariffs already put in place in March and the 34% announced last week. Yeah, you can't bully China. They can take a hit now, but they also have over 2 billion people live in China. They can survive this. They have plenty of connection with other countries. They already joined forces with Japan, South Korea. They are doing well with Europe for the most part, including Russia. They're not a country that's gonna struggle. In terms of infrastructure, again, like I said, they're way above us. You can see many videos, especially in the major cities. You can look at New York City as an example of a major city that can kind of be a small city compared to China. There are several major cities that are way advanced in New York City, way advanced in Chicago, way advanced in Newark, New Jersey. Way more advanced in Massachusetts, Boston, Massachusetts, Seattle, Washington. Even not talk about states, talk about DC is also still behind. So don't think that China is the one who's behind. It's the US. Our infrastructure is not that great. Texas, for instance, has horrible infrastructure. Red states in general have the worst infrastructure in this country. I'm not saying blue states have perfect infrastructure, but red states, Republican controlled states specifically, are really struggling to keep up with the more up to date infrastructure systems. So keep that in mind. There's other video from The Guardian, like I was speaking earlier. Beijing attacks JD Vance, Chinese peasants remark in tariffs interview. Yeah, so I'm not surprised. This expect that China obviously wouldn't like that. I wouldn't if I was, the Chinese government. It's a big issue because China and US have pretty good relationship for the most part in terms of being trade partners and be able to make things work with each other. These Republican leaders in Congress and the presidency have been terrible for us. They've been ruining connections and relationships that we've been having with multiple countries in Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, Central America in short periods of time. This is not worthwhile. You do not want the US to be isolated. That's not good for the poor, working class, and middle class people. You're making things tougher for them. The rich and the wealthy will be fine. But even some upper class people, upper middle class to upper class, people who are high on the 200, 300K a year, people making, you can say upper class like 500, 600K a year, but still less than a million. Those people can also be targeted pretty badly by these tariffs. This can really cause them to lose their businesses, to lose their great jobs. It can impact them too, but especially poor, working class, and middle class people. And don't think you can just escape to another country like Canada and your problems are resolved. You have to go through a whole sponsorship program to be able to get a green card and to employ and hope for the best. You can also keep a job at the end for the long term. Don't think you can just go to another country and things will just magically work out. Or if you work hard enough, things are gonna work. US creates a situation where it can be a little bit easier to fix your immigration status if you marry a citizen. But in many other ways, legal immigration to the US is very difficult. That's why a lot of people had to go to more extreme levels. I'm gonna watch this clip that basically Beijing's gonna, the representatives of Beijing will talk about this whole situation with JD Vance remark where he called Chinese people peasants. Let me go over this right now.
中国人不惹事，也不怕事，施压、威胁和讹诈
Correct. Pressure, threats, and blackmail are not the right ways to deal with China. China is a very traditional old country. They've been existing for thousands of years. They dealt with many, many wars, internal wars like civil wars. They're pretty strong. They still have some of the oldest culture and traditions still alive today. In terms of food, dances, music, art of all other types besides dancing and food, um, they've been existing for a long time. They also are known to have been traveling everywhere on planet Earth. Chinese people have traveled practically everywhere. They're very well versed in how many other cultures and laws work. They really make them sound more knowledgeable. They have connected with a lot of indigenous people from everywhere. They connect to many countries. They've been traveling. They really understand a lot of things. Much better than the US. The US is a young country. People forget the US is not that old. US is not even 500 years old, not even 400 years old. It's a very young country. Uh, and it's still learning a lot of things. China is not. China's been going on for 5,000 plus years straight and not having the entire economy collapsing and then with multiple Great Depression and just dying out. They've been doing really well. So this whole idea that China is gonna be bullied so easily by the US, it's not happening. Plus, they have plenty of allies to back them up.
不是同中方打交道的正确方式。中方必将采取 必要措施，坚决维护自身正当合法权益。如果美方置两国和国际社会的利益不顾，执意打关税战、贸易战，中方必将奉陪到底。
I can't blame them. The U.S. is conducting this pointless tariff war, which is not good again for poor working class middle class people. Even a lot of upper middle class and upper class people are gonna struggle as well. The rich and wealthy are still gonna be fine, but they also been complaining too. I already know that must be complaining a lot to Trump, and because some of the tariffs are finally impacting him, right? First, Tesla is going downhill in sales, and some of his other companies might not be doing so great. This is not good. Yeah, so that was a clip I want to watch for the exchange. China is not going to back down. They shouldn't. They're not the problem. They're not the one causing the issue here. It's the U.S. So that's it for the news of today. Um, I might make more of a video talking a little bit more basic information about tariff and how tariffs can really impact your pockets. Even someone who comes from upper class background, don't think you can escape it. A lot of people, farmers, people on farms, construction businesses, they're all really struggling. A lot of these local business owners who voted for Trump, a lot of them are construction companies. A lot of them are farmers, who own farms. A lot of these blue collar people is really biting their ass right now. As expected, they lost their workforce, aka undocumented immigrants. They had to pay a lot more for material, uh, products, or produce, etc. Everything is a lot more expensive. And if you firmly believe that in the long term this will be good for us, it will not be. Trump's first term was not good for poor working class and middle class people. It was great for the rich and the wealthy. Same thing with the second term, not for the majority of the population of the US and other countries. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'll try to reply to you guys as much as I can. What do you think about JD Vance Chinese peasants remark? If you think he's racist or not, it really is. And it's very xenophobic. But we can have a discussion about that and why I think it is and explain why. It really is very egregious to say such a thing and why it's racist and xenophobic. But if you think it's not, let me know why. And if you think the whole trade war that Trump is doing is the right thing for the US and other countries in the long term or not, we can have a discussion. We can have a little debate if you guys like. I'll do my best. And I'm an expert in these things. My field is more in the affirmation equal opportunity. But still, I can have discussion. I'll do my best to provide my perspectives on things I kind of have an idea how the ins and outs of government works, especially more so state government, but I have an idea how the federal government works. And we could go from there. And again, if you like the video, like and subscribe. If you're watching this TikTok, follow us on TikTok. And that's really all. And I hope you all have a good day.